Hey guys, what's up? I'm Erin and welcome back to the channel. Our retirement accounts are there for predominantly one purpose, and that is to encourage us to save for our future. They come with favorable tax treatment. Think about the Roth accounts, which allow for tax-free growth, or traditional accounts, which allow for tax-deferred growth. But the perks of these accounts are there to incentivize us to want to save for our future. Your future being your eventual retirement when you step away from the workforce and no longer have a regular monthly paycheck. That's what these accounts are for. And they come with a lot of rules and restrictions about accessing the funds in them early. But that's kind of the point. You're not supposed to lean into these accounts or withdraw from them during your working years. They're meant to provide for your future. However, that's not how everyone treats these accounts. In fact, according to a new survey from Bankrate, 51% of Americans have taken an early withdrawal from their retirement accounts. That's an alarmingly high statistic. For accounts that are meant to be there to help us fund our future, more than half of us are not using them as we should. We're not using them to help fund our future. Rather, we're using them to help fund today. And in most cases, that's a big mistake. This robs your future self of a better future. If you're taking money out today, there's a very real chance that you won't have enough in this account to be able to step away from the workforce when you want to. You may be forced to continue working long past when you wish you could have retired. So let's talk about these accounts and withdrawals and loans as they pertain to these traditional retirement accounts, because there is a big distinction between a withdrawal and a loan. A withdrawal from a 401k is the permanent removal of money from your account. It is subject to taxes and penalties if you are under full retirement age. Full retirement age is 59 and a half, so if you make a withdrawal prior to this age, there's a 10% early withdrawal penalty. And if you take a withdrawal from a traditional 401k rather than the Roth type, you would also owe income tax on the withdrawal as well. Because a withdrawal from a 401k is not something you eventually repay to your own account, it results in a permanent reduction of your retirement savings. And the problem is that these accounts work best when the money in them is left to compound for a long period of time. So there's a huge cost to taking this money out, which would have otherwise been left to compound. When we consider stats like 40% of Gen Z members or 30% of millennials have taken withdrawals from their 401k, we have to consider not only the reduction in the account's value today, but also what that money could have otherwise grown to if left invested over time. When we look at Gen Z, it's very likely that they could have 45 years of compounding ahead of them. When we look at millennials, it's very likely they could still have 30 years or so of compounding ahead of them. So every dollar you take out today results in a significant loss of future dollars. When we consider what these funds could grow to, even conservative amounts like say $5,000, with such a long potential compounding horizon, it's not just a $5,000 loss. It's a loss that's tens of thousands of dollars or potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the decision to withdraw funds from these accounts is an irrevocable decision. Once you take that money out, you can't put it back in. Yes, you can certainly continue to contribute to your 401k, but there are limits, and you can't contribute above and beyond what those limits are on an annual basis. Many of these accounts do allow for hardship withdrawals for specific instances like unforeseen medical expenses or to avoid foreclosure on your home. But even though these could be very legitimate reasons to tap into this account to simply keep your head above water, keep in mind it still is going to come with taxes and penalties. And even if the withdrawal is coming from a Roth account, the cost is more than meets the eye. You have to consider what this money could otherwise grow to. Now, a loan from a 401k plan is very different than a withdrawal. The key distinction between a loan and a withdrawal is that a loan is the temporary removal of funds from a 401k that will eventually be repaid with interest over a set period of time, generally about 5 years. One thing to keep in mind is that if you lose your job in the time where you've taken a loan from your 401k, your loan may be due more quickly, and if you can't repay it, it would then be seen as a withdrawal, at which point you would owe taxes and penalties on the withdrawn amount. That is the key point about a loan from a 401k. While interest is due on the balance, it does not trigger taxes and penalties so long as you follow the repayment schedule. As far as the interest goes, it is interest that you pay back to yourself. You pay it back to your own 401k. So in a way, you are paying yourself for borrowing this money. But we do have to consider the cost of having money out of the market and sitting on the sidelines, because we never know how the stock market is going to perform in various years. There could be great costs to being out of the market during this time. What if you end up sitting on the sidelines during a significant bull market? Well, at that point, this comes with a significant opportunity cost of what this money could have otherwise grown to if left invested. What if you end up sitting on the sidelines during the downturn of a market? Well, that could have been seen as a lucky break. But more often than not, the market does go up. The market has far more up years than it has down years, so the biggest takeaway is that it's best to just stay invested for the long term. And it's important to note that not all 401k plans allow for loans, so if this is an option that you are interested in exploring, you would have to see if your specific plan allows for it. Loans do have to follow IRS guidelines, which generally limit the maximum loan amount to 50% of your vested account's balance or $50,000, whichever is less. And generally speaking, the loan must be repaid within 5 years unless used to purchase a primary residence. But still, the general takeaway is don't take a loan from your 401k if you can avoid it for the vast majority of reasons. If we were to talk about making an early withdrawal from an IRA, just like an early withdrawal from a 401k, if this account type is a traditional variety, it would be subject to income tax and a 10% early withdrawal penalty, unless it qualifies for an exception. There are a few circumstances that allow for exceptions to the 10% penalty, which tend to revolve around the first-time purchase of a home, qualified higher education expenses, or medical expenses, things like that. Withdrawals from a Roth IRA are treated a little bit differently, as you can access your contributions, aka the money you've put into this fund, at any time for any reason without penalty and without facing any tax consequence. If you do withdraw above and beyond your contributions, what the market has returned, it would be subject to a 10% early withdrawal penalty unless an exception applies. And the exceptions would be the same as listed above with the early withdrawal on a traditional IRA. IRAs do not allow for loans, so if you are attempting to take money out of these accounts, you are essentially forced into the withdraw option, which permanently reduces the account's value and comes with the opportunity cost of what this money could have otherwise grown to over time. IRAs do have a 60-day rollover exception where you could take money out of an IRA, and as long as you return it within 60 days, it is treated as a tax-free rollover and not as a withdrawal. However, this option can only be used once every 12 months, and I do think this is a dangerous road to go down, because if you find yourself backed into a financial corner today, what's the guarantee you're going to be out of it in the next 60 days? And if you fail to put this money back within that 60-day time frame, you then owe income tax on the withdrawn amount as well as a 10% early withdrawal penalty. When we talk about retirement accounts, the 401k and the IRA are the ones that gain the most attention, but there are other plans. Other popular plan types would include the 403b, which treats loans and withdrawals very similarly to the 401k. Again, it is going to be subject to employer guidelines and specific plan restrictions. If we look at the 457b plans, if it's a government plan, it traditionally will allow for loans. If it's a non-government plan, it traditionally will not allow for loans. If we talk about a simple IRA or a SEP IRA, they tend to follow traditional IRA schedules and they do not allow for loans. I know it's very cliche to say, but there's truth to it. There's no loan for retirement. These retirement accounts come with a lot of favorable tax treatment, whether they allow for tax-free growth or tax-deferred growth, depending on the account type you have. And not having to pay taxes on an annual basis gives your accounts a lot of momentum. It gives your accounts a lot of growth potential. Taking a withdrawal or taking a loan from these accounts hurts your future self. I think a better plan is to exhaust pretty much any other option prior to tapping into these accounts. Is that to say that there's never a good reason to touch these accounts early? No, but by and large, I think the general rule of thumb is that people should not touch these funds early. If you simply leave it invested, your future self will thank you. I think you could make the argument that there is worthy reasons to take money out of these accounts early. For instance, let's say you had to pay for medical treatment. Health comes first. Health comes before finances. Health comes before everything. So if it involves treating yourself or taking care of someone you loved, this could be a reason to take a withdrawal. Or maybe it involves keeping a roof over your head, as is the instance with foreclosures. In fact, last year, 39% of hardship withdrawals were made to avoid foreclosure on one's primary home. But even that argument, I think, is worth exploring a little more deeply. Is this truly a one-time situation to avoid foreclosure, or are you living in a residence that is a little bit too expensive for you? If that's the case, withdrawing from your future funds isn't going to solve the problem. What you need to do in that situation is to explore a living situation that is more affordable, rather than depleting your future funds today. I don't think you should tap into these funds to do the first-time purchase of a home, to pay off credit card debt, to remodel a home, or any reason like that. When in doubt, the best answer is to leave the money invested in these accounts. Let it compound for your future. I'd love to hear your experience. Have you ever taken a loan or taken a withdrawal from one of your retirement accounts? Leave your thoughts in a comment down below. I post new videos every single week. If you got anything at all out of this one, please give it a like. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, or if you know of someone who might get something out of this type of content, please consider sharing. I'll see you soon. Bye. Favorable tax treatment? Oh God. I just want to walk off a cliff. Don't put that in them early. Just like an early, am I recording? Okay. I don't know. Oh my gosh. Okay. Great day. Too early penalty. IRI, wow. % early withdrawal penalty. Okay, here we go.